What is going on, everybody? And this is Bull Chat with Randy Paddock. I'm Randy Paddock, and this is episode number 50. So, welcome to the show. Before we get started, as always, if you would like to support the show, you can go to the www.patreon.com/bullchat and you can become a patron there. I put some blogs and there's some other just for patrons info and content I put up there. So that's definitely something you can do if you want to support. Also, check out www.ruffianstrength.com. For that, anything that you need with training, nutrition, there's blogs about fitness and lifestyle. So definitely, if you want to get your shit together a little bit more, go to www.ruffianstrength.com and check that out as well. All right, let's jump into it today. So I'm going to talk a little bit. This is going to be similar. I don't know because I probably should have went back and listened to it, but I didn't. So fuck me, right? But I did an episode entitled Common Sense. And this episode kind of goes down that similar vein. This one is, I want to talk a little bit about logic and logical thinking. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I've had time, right? It's now the end of May, right? It's Memorial Day weekend. We've been on lockdown since St. Patrick's Day. So, needless to say, there's been some time to do some thinking. And I don't know, I think that when you have the time, you might as well use the time constructively. And I was thinking about just logic in general and about simplifying things. And I think there's something to be said about simple working. I think that sometimes people don't believe in simple because if something's too simple, that just can't be the way, right? Like, no, that's just too easy. That can't be it. But I think using logic is a simple way to figure out problems and to think. And maybe if we all used it a little bit more, it might help. So, in my attempt to help the human race, as always, here's just my 2 cents on logic. But again, what the fuck do I know? So, here's the dealio. And again, I hate to use this COVID-19 stuff as a backdrop, but that's what we're living in right now. So, that's going to be the backdrop because that's what everyone's related to and then going through. But so, with the COVID-19, emotions high. In different emotions. And it's very understandable, right? There's the emotion of frustration, of feeling helpless, of anger, of sadness, of fear, of, hate, of distrust, of skepticism, of, all kinds of different kinds of emotions. And they're all running high. And in this day and age, I don't know if we do a good job at controlling our emotions or governing our emotions as maybe they used to back in the day because, it's kind of more okay these days to be emotional and show your emotions. And we have more platforms to get them out thinking that people give a shit, i.e. a podcast and me talking to you thinking that you care, or maybe it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But needless to say, whenever emotions are running a high, logic goes out the window. As soon as you introduce a lot of emotion into any situation, the logical conclusion usually goes by the wayside. Hence, any horror movie that you've ever seen, right? Like, there's the killer to your right, look to your left. There's a window to jump out of, look straight ahead. There's a fucking trapeze act to get through to try to get a knife to kill the killer. Let's go straight ahead as opposed to logically going out the window. So it doesn't surprise me, and I don't get offended when people aren't in their best mind or thinking quite logically, because I know that when emotion gets high, logic goes out the window. How do I know this? I base society and society's actions off of my actions. So I know if I don't put shit in check and I get very emotional, I'm not very logical. And you're the exact same way. So think of any time you've been extremely emotional, how much logic are you using? Here's an example. Have you ever punched anyone in the face? For the most part, that's not a good logical conclusion to a problem. I know all the badasses out there are like, fuck yeah, it is. Fucking breaking faces, right? And I used to think the same way as well. But in general, let's think if you get in a street fight these days, what can happen? I don't know. You can get arrested, you could go to jail, you can get sued, you can pay a bunch of money, or you can get killed because maybe you punch a guy and then maybe a guy shoots you. Who knows? But anyway, how we got to getting shot in the streets is because someone spilled a drink on you at a bar or scuffed your fucking Nikes, maybe. I don't know. But something triggered you to be extremely emotional, therefore the logic went out the window. Maybe it's saving face, right? That's probably a big one. Can't be logical when you have an ego that's fucking huge and you want to protect it. So let's look at that in kind of the lens of what's going on now. People like to pick sides on stuff. So the big side going on now is either if you're thinking about reopening the economy, you hate people and you want everyone to die. And if you are thinking about wanting people to stay inside, you hate America, you hate freedom. So there's the stances, there's what people think, there's the emotion, and then there's no logic. Right? So that's where the face punching comes in and the hate throwing, and people can't have this is you want to look through silver linings on things. What an opportunity and a time to actually have some discourse and some chats about policy and government and, health and community and all these things, but everyone's just throwing shit at each other because they're so dug in and so emotional that they can't even realize the opportunity that we have to maybe actually make a change in some stuff turns into fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, no change. But again, it doesn't surprise me. And I don't think that makes me pessimistic. I think or a quote unquote realist, right? People say that I'm just a realist. It's just a nice way of saying that you're a fucking bummer and a downer and looking at the bad and everything. I don't think I do that. However, I use logic, and logically speaking, when people get very emotional, they're not logical. And then what this can lead into is kind of a rabbit hole. The cool thing about the internet is you can find anything, right? In 2020, in this day and age, you can literally find anything that you're looking for. And Google's it's rad, right? I always kind of get amazed when I'll be with somebody and we'll be talking about like an old movie or an old song or some shit, and we're trying to piece it together, and we can't really piece it together. But you go into Google and you type in those random things like 1980s movie where the guy yells at another guy, there's a band playing at a party, and I think it's about a dead man. Boom. You type that in and it brings you to Back to School, Oingo Boingo, Dead Man's Party, Rodney Dangerfield, Wikipedia, right? That's how cool Google is like finishes your thoughts. And maybe to some people that's scary. But the bad thing about the internet and all this information is you can find exactly what you're looking for. So that's kind of the problem, I think, that happens, is that people, you kind of got to know how to use this search, right? So let's say, I don't know, I'm looking at COVID-19 cases, right? I can, depending on where my bias lies or what I want to find out, I can find news stories that will lead me in either way. I could find them that'll lead me into that this is the end of the world, and that if you go outside and you don't wear a mask and you breathe in the air, you're going to die. Or I can find it in another way that this is a hoax made up by 5G cell towers and governments. And once I click on one, fucking the algorithms and all that other stuff kicks in, and giddy up, I'm down a rabbit hole, and now I'm an expert on some bullshit. So something that you should try is, instead of when you're searching for things, don't type in what you're looking for, maybe type in what you're not looking for, right? So is COVID-19 a hoax? Might be something that people type in, and then you're going to get probably the first couple of hits and people don't scroll down the pages anyways. You take the first hit as that's going to be the authority on whatever you're thinking about, even though that might not be the case. Just because the algorithm got it as the number one hit doesn't mean it's the best source of information, but that's neither here nor there because we're too effing busy to do research. So we take that as that's the authority. And then I typed in, is COVID-19 a hoax? And it's going to say, the first thing will probably say something like COVID-19 is a hoax made by the Russian government or some shit like that. And I'm going to read that. And then that's my thought. And I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to fucking tell everybody about this one thing that I skimmed over, maybe read 3 sentences total, but that's what is law and that's what it is. And if you think any other way, you're an asshole and I'm going to shame you about it. So that's kind of what goes on. As opposed to typing, COVID-19 facts, or even more specific, COVID-19 facts in Chicago, data, looking, at all kinds, keep scrolling down the page, looking at where the source is coming from. That's just how to do research in general. And again, that's logical, but when you know an answer in your head that you want, you don't have logic, right? If you're coming into something extremely biased or wanting a specific answer, you're going to be able to find that. And that's kind of a problem that we're running into, right? So here's my question. There's this cool thing. It's called detachment. So detachment is when you detach yourself from a situation, right? And I've learned about detachment for a long time. When I was coming up in the business world, one of the pillars that we learned was don't make emotional decisions, right? You got to make decisions, but don't make emotional decisions. And I think that's great advice. Jocko Willink always talks about detachment in terms of leadership and taking a step back. So I always kind of present this question. I present it to you. What would happen if we just took a step back and detached? So we're in our current situation. So let's figure it out. So I kind of try to do that in my own life, and I challenge you to do that in your life. Like, what if you detached yourself and just took a step back from whatever stance you have on anything, right? I think that maybe some of us are still, like it's week whatever the fuck, day 1 million of quarantine. So, newsflash, this shit's going on. So why people still are like, I can't wrap my head around it. Why people still are like bitching about this quarantine and this, that, and the other. It's like, it's the situation, right? And it's the situation we've been in. So let's detach all of our emotion from how angry we are that we're stuck in our house. And, to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, and maybe people won't like this idea, but like, yes, we are. And if you're checking this out on YouTube, or if not, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing air quotes. We are quarantined, right? Here in Chicago. I don't know, man. Like if you walk around Chicago, it doesn't look like a quarantine, right? Yes, it sucks. Yes, shit shut down. Yes, businesses are shut down. Yes, all this shit is fucking true. However, fucking Boys Town is booming with 1 million people outside, right? Like I went for a walk today and there was hundreds of people outside and getting coffees, and apparently you can drink beers in the fucking streets in Chicago now, which is pretty awesome. There's people getting Bloody Marys. There's curbside businesses open, things are open somewhat. You can go outside. People are still gathering and hanging out with their friends. Like, I don't give a fuck, man. Like, at the end of the day, make your own choices. Like, the 6-foot rule, the mask, whatever. To be honest, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not even getting into that shit. I just want to prove a point that it could be a lot worse of a quarantine, right? Like, we never had any sort of a, like, you're stuck in your house. That I know, like, in other places, in New York and Italy and shit where this thing was going nuts, like, a little bit more strict quarantine, right? Where like you look in fucking Times Square or anywhere in Manhattan and it looks like I Am Legend. Well, if you walk in Wrigleyville on a Saturday afternoon, it looks like a slow Saturday afternoon in Wrigleyville. You know what I mean? Except people are wearing masks. So yeah, it sucks. Yeah, people are fucked. Yeah, kids are fucked because they can't go to school, and parents are fucked because they gotta be with their kids all the time. And yeah, it could always be worse though. Yeah, the government's fucking us in all different ways, sure. But we can also still go outside and there's not a guy patrolling with a gun fucking pistol whipping you for taking your dog for a walk. So it could always be worse, you know? So, anyways, back to my original point. Like, this is the situation that's going on. So, instead of freaking out about the situation, detach yourself from your feeling of the situation. And then that's how you can really start to put together a plan on what you're going to do with your life in the said situation. You bitching and moaning about it to every single person that'll listen. And, unfortunately, misery loves company. So you have one motherfucker that goes on Facebook and bitches about it and then giddy up. The best is, I'm telling you what, like this Facebook shit is better than reality TV during this fucking COVID-19, man. I have all these friends that are on Facebook and, maybe not my buddies, but just people I know. And all of a sudden, all of them are like extreme experts at things, are, very politically active, very involved in civic duties, yada, yada, yada. I'm being sarcastic. Like, these people are all fucking degenerates that I grew up with. And like they're giving their 2 cents or whatever. And like all they're doing is like someone will put something up and then like a person I know, and it's like people we went to high school with, right? Like someone will put something up and then someone I know doesn't agree with them and they're like, yeah, but blah, blah, blah. And they get in these fights. It's like, y'all are fucking dorks, man. Like, who gives a shit what someone's idea is? Like, if I say, I don't know, I think COVID-19 is fake, and then I have 20 fucking people from the class of 2002 in Wakanda High telling me not, like, how did that solve anything? Right? Shut the fuck up. If I say, I think this thing's extremely real, we need to stay home, and Wakanda class of 86 chimes in, they took our jabs, fucking love it or leave it, then like, how's that helping anything, right? So it's all these fucking people, and they're just so bored that they get into these like fights, and they all just look like jags. You know what I mean? And then the funniest is, you want to talk about, and I'm ripping on my hometown a little bit here, but I don't give a fuck because this place is just on some bullshit. Um, there's this, I got put in this, I might have talked about this before, I don't know. I got put in this Facebook group about Wakanda, Illinois, called Wakanda for Wakanda. And this fucking hyena fest is filled with the biggest pieces of shit on planet Earth. And these are all people that live in the town that I came from, that my family still lives in. And I have no fucking problem saying that they're all a bunch of jagoffs that need a fucking life, right? So what these people do, and it's great entertainment, mind you. Like, I love it. It's like Jerry Springer via Facebook. So like, I just seen before, just reading random comments that, like, I don't know, an older woman, like, right, it's Facebook, so the demographic's usually a bit older, and if it's in a Facebook group for a town, it's like not what the hip 24-year-old kids are doing on their Facebook, right? So it's like an older woman like asking a question or saying something like, oh my god, this is so unfair, I need to go to the doctor, and I can't get a doctor's appointment. Why can't they just open the state up? Then 50 sons of bitches will jump in on her how she's a piece of shit because she wants to open things up in a pandemic and that she's selfish. And this will go on. And this is what this whole fucking thing is. It's disgusting. And the funny thing is all these dickheads will all, and it's like, we're not from some fucking progressive town or from some town worth of shit. We're from a town of 14,000 people that has 20 fucking bars in it, 10 cleaners, and 15 gas stations. Like, get over it, right? I don't give a shit how many fucking sliced pizzas and fucking strawberry moons and whatever hippie bullshit and fucking farmers markets you put on Main Street. It's like a blue collar shit suburb of Chicago that's not all that open minded. So like, relax and leave people the fuck alone. And it bothers me, and it sucks, like I said, because I grew up there. This is my emotion coming out, right? Maybe not the most logical thinking, so it goes right into what I'm talking about. I grew up there, my family lives there, I have a special place in it, but like, that just, and I guarantee it's not just my hometown doing that. I guarantee, every single town has one of those, and that's happening. People that are just virtue signaling and fucking, talking shit on people about having different views or even asking questions, and it's pathetic. And then they're all gonna sit at fucking Lindy's outside bar and get shit-faced together when it reopens like nothing ever happened. So it's just like, fuck off. But anyhow, clearly not, I'm not detached from that. Here's how a detached person would look at said situation. So this is a situation we're in, so let's detach. Let's not get emotional. Let's think here logically. All right, well, there's a lot of people that are being affected by this in different ways, right? So they have high emotions. Some people are losing jobs. Some people are losing loved ones. Some people are very stressed out now because they have their kids at home and they have to play teacher and cook and, work from home. Money could be an issue now, all this different stuff, right? Okay, cool. This makes sense why people might be a little bit more frustrated and lashing out. And then let's add in, if people are really following the rules, boredom, right? So now I'm bored. I'm just, I'm going on rabbit holes on the internet. I'm reading and finding out my what I think, and I'm just digging in more and more with each article that I read the clickbait headline of, and then someone triggers me and I'm off. So, it makes sense. So you detach, like I try to do, besides that little rant I just went on there. You can't get really mad at people because you can see kind of what's going on with them and why they would act irrationally and, not use logic or common sense. You know what I mean? So if we can do that with everything and clear our heads a little bit, maybe we'll be a little bit better off. And that kind of goes into, I think, the easiest. Let me check that. It's not easy to do. It's an easy concept. It's hard to practice. But something that we all need to really do all the time, and this is not just when a pandemic's going on, but just in general, man. It's something that, again, I try to do, but it's every day, it's hard. But you want to focus on what you can control, right? Again, when I was coming up in business, another thing I learned about it, I learned, through business a lot of good things for life, but it was focus on what you can control. Don't focus on uncontrollables, right? That's stuff that's out of your control. If you're not focusing on what you can control, it's easy to play a victim. It's easy to blame stuff because there's all these things happening that are out of your control. So you're pointing a finger at it, as opposed to internally pointing the finger and changing and doing things that are within your control. So I think I've been reading a lot of Stoicism lately, a lot of Marcus Aurelius in general. And the Stoics have this concept of you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And I think that's fucking gold, baby. I think that's something that maybe you should write down in your mental notebook and think of, because that's something I try to think of all the time, is that as the great, Eric Matthews says of Boy Meets World to his younger brother Corey, says, life's tough, get a helmet, right? So I think that if we remember that, life's tough, get a helmet, like shit's gonna happen, and bad shit's gonna happen, and unfair shit's gonna happen, such as life, right? We can't control that shit, but we can control how we react. So this fucking bullshit pandemic hits and it's anarchy and people are getting fucked every hole by every form of anything. We can't control that, but we can control how we react. Do we have to succumb to being pieces of shit, virtue signaling and bashing and bullying and shitting on people? Do we have to become that? Or can we be better? Right? How are we going to respond? Are we going to use logical thinking? Are we going to respond with, okay, not emotion? We're in this situation, perfect. And I'm not into that, we're in this together, because, technically correct. We are in this together. We're all on the same planet where this is happening, but people's situations vary so much that it's just 100% not true. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that say that we're in this together, like if we're talking in terms of boats, they're like, while everyone else is in a rowboat, they're on a fucking yacht. You know what I mean? So I don't want to try to sugarcoat that we're in this together thing, but that shouldn't matter either. How do we respond? That's on us, and that's an internal thing of who do you want to be, right? What do you want to be about? What do you want to stand for? What legacy do you want to leave? What kind of, however you want to look at it, what kind of, mojo do you want to throw out there? What kind of karma do you want to throw out there? What kind of, imprint you want to leave? What kind of example do you want to be? That's what we can control. And that's, when you think about it that way, it's fucking awesome, is that we can control that no matter what bullshit goes down, we can control our mind and we can control how we respond to things and how we carry ourselves. And that's fucking awesome. So that's something to remember. And then again, when we remember that we can control it, we can logically think. So let's logically think here, right? Like, let's speak, and again, the pandemic's the background, COVID's the background, but this is an all-around good idea. But logically speaking, this thing, this virus infects, besides older folks, right? But if not older folks, people with underlying conditions that, like obesity, diabetes, things of that nature. So these are all things, that's the killer, that's the real killer in this country of ours, is being fat, being obese, being overweight, eating like shit, terrible diets. That's what's up, right? So logically thinking, and again, being obese, being overweight, that shit leads to all kinds of health issues, not just COVID-19. So logically, why would we want to let that happen? Why would we not want to check that shit, right? That's something we're 100% in control of, right? We're in control of what we put in our mouths. We're in control on how we move our body. We're in all this. Like, if you believe it or not, you're in control. You're in control of what you eat. Maybe you have a shitty relationship with food and you might need to get some help with that, but you're in control of that. But logically speaking as well, like, you also have to think that, like, we have a body and this body carries us around, and there's all kinds of biological things in our body, and there's a lot of organs and things going on. So this is our one body we get on this planet. Why would we want to just fill it with bullshit all the time? Especially when we know that if you do that enough, it's going to lead to problems down the road. Yet we do it all the time. That's crazy. That's something to think about. So if I take, I don't know, emotion out of food, right? Like, those people always kind of freak me out anyways. People that like talk to food like they're gonna fuck it, It's like that episode of Seinfeld when she's like having an orgasm when she eats the risotto, and then George like bangs her and she's like, nah, it's good, but it's not like after the risotto, right? Like those kind of people are always like a little weird to me. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I like some great food as much as the next guy, but when you're eating food, you're like, ugh, like you're blowing loads. Like, bro, maybe we should fix on, reassess how we're thinking about things, right? Or, oh, I'm sad, so I'm going to eat some ice cream, or this, that, and the other. Like, why? You don't have to do that stuff. Let's take emotion out of this. Exercising, moving, like, these are things that, look at any study you want. There's not negatives, right? Moving your body, exercise, eating healthy, eating clean. Like, there's not a downside, right? Except maybe it doesn't taste as good smashing an extra large pizza, and maybe it doesn't feel as good as laying on your bed and watching a bunch of Netflix. But logically speaking, why would I not want to take care of my health and fitness when I know that these things are going to help me in the long run? How you spend your time, what you look at, right? So your mental health as well. That's another concern with this COVID-19 thing, is mental health, and I'm a firm believer in that. Check out the last episode. Me and my buddy Dr. Zach Sikora talk about it. But again, we're in control of what we watch. Let's just use basic logic here. I pick out what I watch on YouTube. I pick out what I click on the internet. I pick out what shows I watch. So for me, I choose not to watch the news because it's fucking bothers me, right? I don't like how they cover stuff. I don't like how things are biased. I don't want to be depressed all the time by shoving the end of the world down my throat at every corner. So I don't. And guess what? It's awesome. All the big shit that's going to happen, I'll hear about it one way or another, right? But watching these briefings every night, like, how much is really changing, right? All that it's doing is reminding us that this bullshit's going on and that we're helpless. So why the fuck would I subject myself to that on a daily basis? It's crazy. right? So like when we have this time, Henry Rollins has a quote, and I don't know if this is a direct quote. I don't know if I'm saying 100% right, but he's like, there's no downtime, there's no free time, there's just time, right? And I think that's an awesome way to look at it. It's like we only have a X amount of it anyways, and we have a lot of it right now extra. So what are you doing with your time? What are you looking at? Unfortunately, we've had a pretty unique opportunity these last couple months to have a lot more of this time. So what have you done with it? I bet some people did awesome stuff. Built solid bonds with their family, maybe got themselves better, smarter. I guarantee every kid, like parent that had to become a teacher got a little smarter because they remembered how to do like multiplication or some shit, right? But a lot of people maybe didn't. Maybe they spend a lot of this time being upset, being mad about what they couldn't control, just watching TV and vegging out, or, just spending a lot of anger. And guys, that shit wears on your mental health as well as your physical health, and stress, like just stressing yourself out over what you can't control and stressing yourself out over other people and these fucking triggers. Like a lot of people might have spent their time like that. I've been reading books. I've been taking classes. I've been trying to better myself because when life gets busy again, which it will, none of this fucking quote unquote new normal bullshit, right? Life's going to get busy again. And what's going to be the first thing we do? We're going to bitch about how we don't have time to make ourselves better when we had this whole time to do that. Just logic. You know what I mean? So focus on, and that kind of leads into your thoughts, right? Like you can control your thoughts. Something you have to logically know. Like let's take whatever your stance is on whatever out of the situation. Let's try to detach from that. Okay? And let's think about if I'm watching CNN, right? Or if I'm watching Fox News. One is left, one is right. So clearly, if you have the same story, one's going to tell it from one narrative, the other's going to tell it from the other narrative, right? That's just a fact. Knowing that a lot of this stuff that's coming out about this virus right off the bat, right? It's like anecdotal evidence, right? It's not like peer-reviewed stuff with lots of different, hypothesis being tested and theories being tested, right? Because it's kind of going in real time. So those are going to have bias and slants as well. So you have to logically know that the media and things that are going on, and the things that people are saying, there's bias in those, and there's not all facts in those, and some facts are left out, and that you need to be able to form your own opinion and think freely. Like take what you like, investigate, look at if something's important, look at it from different angles. Don't just take it at face value from one source. You wouldn't do that for anything else, right? Like let's say you went to the doctor because you were fucked up and they said you have lung cancer and you're going to die in a week. Chances are you're probably going to look for a second and third opinion. You're not just going to take that word as bond. So why do you do it with this bullshit? Right? If you have a kid and one teacher says your kid's an asshole, you're probably going to be like, fuck that teacher. They're not right. Let's look at all these other teachers and see, right? It's called gathering information, doing research. So why not do that as opposed to not thinking, and then also not thinking that these are biased views, right? If you're sitting there as a right-wing person, all you do is watch Fox News and think that's what's the real deal, it's not. It's the real deal for someone that's right-wing, because that's the bias that it is. It's the same if you're left-wing and watch CNN or whatever, Anderson Cooper. You're going to just put yourself in that bubble about, oh, this is the only way it is. Not true, right? You can be multiple things. You can have different views. You can't agree with this and that and the other. And I feel like I talk about this all the time, but I feel it needs to be talked about because motherfuckers don't do it. But it's just logical thinking. And then I like to use logic for like no shit situations. Like what's a no shit situation? It's like someone says something, it's like, well, yeah, no shit, right? So like I'm around a lot of liberal people all the time. And I would probably classify myself as a liberal as well in terms of human rights and shit like that. But I'm definitely not like Antifa far left. You know what I mean? So I'm around a lot of people that don't care for Donald Trump, and to be honest, I'm pretty apathetic about it. Like I hate to be so dug in on something that my identity is fucking based on if I like Donald Trump or not. That's wild if that's your identity, in my opinion. Anyhow, excuse me. So every time I'm like, say it's like a client or something, so I'll see my clients and then they'll tell me, did you see what Donald Trump blah 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 blah, and it's like something that's completely outrageous. And did I see it? Fucking no, I didn't see it because I don't pay attention. But here's the dealio. No shit, right? Like, how does anything that this fucking dude do surprise you, right? Like, the guy got voted in as a shady McGrady businessman, reality TV guy, fucking asshole, right? So, like, when he does asshole stuff, which he's been doing the whole time he's been in there, like, how's it still, like, blow your mind? How are you still so offended and so outraged that he's doing some asshole shit? Like, no fucking duh, bro. Like, instead of bitching about, did you see what he did? Like, I don't know, man. Get your fucking friends together next time voting comes around and drive them all to the polls and make sure that shit doesn't happen again. Right? Don't say to your rich buddy that everyone that votes for Trump's a racist, that's going to go vote for Trump and not tell you because he likes his policy about taxes, even though he might not like his policy about, domestic partnerships or something. I don't know. But the bottom line is, like, no shit. And people get, like, very stressed out about this and very bent out of shape, but it's like, that's like saying that in South Florida it's going to rain. Like, yeah, no shit. So, like, why would you get upset when that happens? And then, like, people are, like, back to the, like, if it's the Wakanda for Wakanda thing, or if it's anywhere on Facebook, people going nuts that people are, like, going into places, and, like, when the fucking Lakeshore, when the Lakeshore path opened up and all these people went out there and were running and playing and this and that, and Lightfoot fucking lays the hammer. It's like, well, no shit. People are going to be doing that. They've been cooped up inside all winter and it's fucking nice out, and that's what people do in Chicago in the summer. Like, no shit that was going to happen, right? When people see people outside trying to congregate, yeah, no shit that's going to happen, because we're fucking human beings that need social connections, like, and we're stuck inside. Like, no shit. Like, they see these parties in the ghettos of Chicago. Like, yeah, no shit. That's going to happen. It's happening everywhere. This is just someone that had an iPhone out and filmed it, right? Like, no shit. People are getting together and trying to blow off some steam because they feel completely fucking helpless, and they're with their community and their friends and are just trying to have a good time when the end of the fucking world is being shoved down their throat at every turn. No shit. Right? And it's like, no shit. So, like, let's focus on the real problems. Like, what causes these epidemics? This, right? I already touched on it. What's crazy to me is that, like, again, underlying issues of diabetes, obesity, things of that nature. So all you see now is fucking, I don't know, I see commercials about Burger King, we care for you, McDonald's, the arches are always on. I don't know, government, why don't you shut those fucking things down? Like, put those as non-essential, right? And maybe let's get a fucking Trader Joe's built up in Austin. Not Austin, Texas, because there's probably 2 million of them. In Austin, the West Side neighborhood in Chicago, which doesn't have one, but they have a shit ton of fried chicken joints, shrimp joints. It's what's called a food desert. And some people don't know what those are. It's that if you live in a neighborhood, like a shitty neighborhood, which most of us are, these are the quote unquote scary neighborhoods or the ghetto neighborhoods. Well, these people are fucked because they don't really have an outlet to go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods and pick up, the newest cauliflower rice or the fucking any produce. Their local grocery store is the 7-Eleven on the corner, so they get nothing but canned foods and old bananas. You know what I mean? So no shit that the African American community has the highest amounts of COVID-19 deaths, right, or getting impacted the most, because their health's the shittiest because they don't have access to the proper nutrition that more wealthy neighborhoods do. That's a real problem. How do we fix that fucking problem? Not let's lock down people and say we're going to send you to jail if you're drinking beers with your neighbor on your porch. Let's figure out how we get this food desert fucking eradicated and get these people that live in these impoverished neighborhoods some real fucking help and not leaving the goddamn golden arches on. Right? The problem is that people are turning snitch on each other and talking and going to platforms to tell on people as opposed to going up and having a conversation with somebody. Instead of trying to get in other people's shoes like, hey man, why are you congregating? Like, what are you guys up to? They're going on right onto their phone, pulling out fucking Facebook. Oh my God, I saw 3 kids talking to each other 2.5 feet apart at the park. We better call the police and put an end to this. They're going to be the reason why everybody dies, right? Like, just fucking think. That's all. If I get anything across in all these podcasts and all these rants, I just want people to fucking think. Use logic. Take a minute. Get in other people's shoes. Know that there's more in the world than the fucking bubble that we live in, that we choose to live in, that we choose to look at, and everything's not the same. Read a book. Read about history. Fucking go to another part of the town, right? Go to the scary part and see what people are dealing with. Right? Get the fuck out of where you live and check out what's going on. And then we can walk a mile in someone else's moccasins, as Dan Carlin would say. And then we can get a better perspective. Then we can take emotion out and get logical about what the fuck we have to fix, who the fuck we gotta be, and what the fuck we gotta do to make this goddamn planet keep spinning, keep rolling, and being badass. What do we got to do to make all the humans and Team Human prosper? That's the fucking goal, man. Not eating each other and selling each other out and bitching at each other and hating on each other and Facebook talk shitting on each other, man. It's fucking how we all going to thrive, how's this place going to thrive, and how we going to all kick ass together. That's the fucking goal, man. Take your emotion out. Use some fucking logic. Use some common sense. Use some compassion. Use some empathy. Next time someone throws some bullshit at you, give them a fucking high five, not a fuck you. All right? That's all I ask. Okay? But again, what the fuck do I know? I'm just some dude with a podcast, right? That I made myself. But again, thank you for listening. Try that, guys. Remember, all we have is time. Use it wisely. Get better. Focus on your health. Make it better. Live longer. Be harder to kill. Be smarter. Be better. Be more impactful. Be more awesome. Till next time, y'all, we're going to put this one in the books. Peace.